listening to Downworlder Dish, a Shadowhunter Chronicles podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 17, where we will be discussing chapter 21 of City of Bones, The Werewolf's Tale. I'm Kristen.
I'm Robin.
And I'm Amanda.
All right. Was everyone's week good?
Yeah. You know.
Yeah, sure.
Same Z's.
As good as it can be at this moment.
My husband keeps calling it Groundhog's Day.
It does. It's like the days run together. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what today is. Where am I?
Are
we in June yet?
Yeah. Well, I went through all of Wednesday thinking it was Tuesday. Like the entire day. Oh, we even missed my daughter's Zoom choir class because I thought it was Tuesday.
Oh, no.
It's fine. It's not graded.
Right.
Nothing is. I say the only thing that's hard about it is like we forget to take out the garbage if you forget what day of the week it is.
Oh.
Uh-huh. Sometimes the neighbors have to help me remember.
Exactly.
Because then I see them out there.
Well, it's not my job to take out the garbage. That's husband's job. Mm-hmm. So technically he has to remember.
Yeah. Set a reminder on your phone or something. Yeah.
All right. So we just have 2 more episodes after this one before our wrap-up episode. So make sure that you head on over to Instagram and go to last week's post. It was on Tuesday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. We posted there, so if you have any questions or discussion topics for us to go over, go ahead and comment below on that post. And we will try to get to everybody.
Appreciate.
Your jacket behind you keeps looking like a shaggy dog that's just like hanging out. Yeah, it's like.
Do you see my cat?
No, your blurred background.
Yep, we can't look at Wednesday's Adventures anymore.
Oh.
I love Wednesday's Adventures.
Dude,
or Jason dancing outside.
My husband really likes this Skype thing. He thinks it's hilarious.
Yeah, Andy does too. Yeah.
Oh my god. So my cat.
Mine's banished.
Is the most adorable thing on the planet, for one. She looks like Toothless from
How
to Train Your Dragon.
Yes. But she's the only cat I know that plays fetch. Like,
that's so
she'll
cute.
bring you her toy and like drop it in your lap and you throw it and she goes and grabs it and brings it back.
Awesome.
She's adorable.
I want one.
Mm-hmm.
You should get one.
I just feel like my kid would eat cat poop somehow. Like, we went on a walk tonight to help, like, try to get him to sleep easier because it's been taking a while to get him down. And he's, like, I put him down outside and he's, like, looking around for some shit to fuck up. And he grabs a rock and it goes right into his mouth. And I'm like, okay, no. So then eventually I let him, venture around some more. He grabs a rock right into his mouth. And I'm just like, dude, everything in the mouth right now. Those molars are killing us.
Well, you heard I said that William is going to be 4.
What?
I don't.
What?
William's going to be 4?
Yeah, and he tried to eat a rubber glove today. Remember? He wasn't trying to eat
blow
it.
Into it.
He was trying to blow into it like a balloon. I'm just saying the
Yeah.
mouth and stress never stops.
Yeah.
Until they're like in kindergarten. Then you don't have to worry about them like choking on random objects. At least he wasn't trying to eat the glove.
And it starts back up at 16.
Blow.
That was unkind. Amanda's daughter just turned 16. I should have said that. Triggered. Oh my goodness. All right. Do we have anything else to discuss?
I hope not.
No? All right. Well, then let's cut the chick chat and kick things off with Robin's recap.
Previously on Downworlder Dish.
Hodge is freed from his curse and celebrates by trapping Clary in a real-life mine box. To no avail, she begs to be let out. Hodge won't break the box because Clary won't make a pinky promise to leave the shadow world behind. He dips, and Clary takes matters into her own hands, using the stele to break free. She tails him, and they confront each other in a back alley. Hodge attacks her with his Shaka Khans. Clary barely ducks in time. A giant wolf comes out of nowhere and attacks Hodge, basically ripping off his shoulder. Clary tries to beat feet, but for the millionth time suffers a head injury. She wakes up in a jail cell and very shortly after discovers her captor is none other than Luke, who, by the way, is a leader of a pack of person wolves. Luke finally decides to tell Clary the truth about his past. I should have said /person/wolves.
I went back and adjusted mine for this chapter, so they all say person wolf.
Okay, but
So did I.
but
Just
why
to
is
impress
it
you
a
guys.
singular and then a plural? Person wolves.
Because it's
I don't know.
people wolves
just
would sound
replicates.
weird.
Listen.
It's
I
a pack
channeled
of person wolves.
a gaggle of.
Ooh, a gaggle. A
gaggle of
gals.
person
A
wolves.
pack of wolves. Sounds
Okay, listen.
correct.
I channeled my inner 6th grader and crashed, like came home and like really had to like write this out because I didn't do it. I procrastinated badly. Like I spent
You mean you pulled
Omar
a
got
Kristen?
off work late and I watched like 4 episodes of the Gilmore Girls instead of working on this yesterday.
I feel like every time Robin does her recap, I want to make like sound effects. I don't know why.
Dude, your miming was perfect in your little box.
I didn't look at you.
It was great.
I stayed focused.
It's good that you didn't
Good
look at me
job.
because you would have
Yeah.
totally been distracted.
Yep.
I was not doing you any favors.
I know you weren't. That's why I did this.
Oh, I was too busy. I was in the zone.
I was watching
totally
Kristen.
method.
Yeah.
I was in the zone.
AutoZone.
That's what I was doing. Get in the
That's
zone.
what I was gonna say.
Get in the zone. His voice should be like that on the commercial.
You should send them your alterations.
I should. Like Adriana singing the O'Reilly Adam parts. No. When she was really little. It's like she would go around the house singing the O'Reilly auto parts theme all the time. But she'd say Adam parts. And then she'd go, ciao.
Wow.
Oh God, when Cassie
reminds
was
me
little,
of-
instead of saying
sorry.
I'm a bee with that God, what are they called? Black Eyed Peas song, she would say lima bean. Lima bean, lima bean, lima bean. Cutest thing ever.
That's awesome.
Okay,
I don't
sorry.
know that Bryn ever. I don't remember her ever doing stuff like that.
No, Bren was singing like Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Just like, I mean, belting stuff out in her big,
Yeah.
beautiful voice.
I don't
Not
know.
actually Whitney Houston.
When she was 6 years old and she was singing Edge of 17, and I was just like, I made it as a parent. This is it. Because she already knew Bohemian Rhapsody, and I'm like, I mean, if you know Queen and you know Stevie Nicks, I'm done. My work here is done.
Right.
Go off into the world and succeed.
I rest my case.
Oh shoot. Oh, food just came out of my bra.
I'm sorry, what?
Later snacks.
It was Reese's.
That's what I mean when you eat them when they're too frozen.
I think it's delicious.
They crumble in your bra.
Like a Pez dispenser?
A dispenser.
You just go like this and pull them apart and just pop out candy. All right, so this entire chapter is basically Luke just telling Clary his story, and it's basically the exact same. It's basically the exact thing that Ramen has been begging someone to do with Clary the entire book. Is just sit down and just give her all the deets. And so
Tell her something.
And so we get a whole chapter of it. But that being said, this chapter is a little bit different. It has a different narrative feel than the rest of the book. So I'm going to do my best to summarize, but there's not a whole lot of interaction. It's basically just Luke telling her his history. So we're going to try and make this fun. And there's a lot to kind of pick apart and dig into. So it'll be interesting. But here we go.
Do it.
Do it. So Luke grew up in Idris, same as Jocelyn, and when they were of age, they both went to school in the capital, Alicante. And this is where they met Valentine and the others that would eventually form the circle. And the way Hodge and Luke talk about the Glass City, like at the very beginning of this chapter, Luke kind of waxes poetic about Alicante and how beautiful it is, and you know, all this stuff. And Hodge does the same thing when he's talking about the Glass City. And it's just interesting to me. They talk about it as if this place has some sort of like pull over Shadowhunters, like it's in their blood or something. What do you guys think? Did you guys like notice something different about that? Or do you think it's just homesickness? Or it's like, I don't know.
I think the two characters you're referring to,
Mm-hmm.
Especially, obviously, we've all read the chapter, are both kind of exile. Like they're not allowed to come back. So I bet it's a lot of longing and, you know, fond memories. And obviously the part of it wasn't fond for Luke, but, you know, kind of yearning for a place that's beautiful. Obviously it's described as beautiful and you're not allowed to go back.
And it's kind of the only place they belong, right?
Yeah, to me, it's also they're describing it to kids that are from New York that probably haven't experienced much of the countryside. So I think it's so beautiful, like rolling hills sort of thing. And you can run for miles with butterflies and they carry you and sing you songs.
What? Sleeping Beauty.
Snow White, yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right, so Valentine was a year older than Luke and a total hotshot. Everything Luke was not. Rich, charming, talented, charismatic, and influential. Whereas Luke was a poor kid from the country, struggling in school, and even had trouble bearing marks, which is like a really big deal, obviously, because, I mean, Shadowhunter marks, they kind of go hand in hand. But I guess until this point in the book, obviously, I never knew that there was like variations of Shadowhunters in this way. Like there were certain Shadowhunters that couldn't. Like I didn't think about that being like a problem in their society. Of some of them are weak or unable to bear marks or something like that. It just never occurred to me as a thing. Like they don't talk about it. I don't know. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. It seems like they have this in their blood. They're all just awesome.
Right. Yeah, because all we've met are these extraordinary examples. And then it makes you think, okay, well, obviously they have a very like weird hierarchy system. And like we've talked about a couple episodes ago about like the rich families versus the poor families. And I think Robin had brought it up that like it seems very odd that any of the families are poor or don't have as much. Like the servant thing
like
with
servants.
Valentine. The servant thing with Jace's family.
It's just weird to think like what kind of jobs are you not having?
Right.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's like maybe he's born with it.
Yeah, where does that disparity come from?
Maybe it's Maybelline.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so he considers giving up on his Shadowhunter roots and even becoming a mundane, but Valentine stepped in, befriending Luke and offering to help train him. Once under Valentine's wing, Luke got better, and in turn, he totally hero worshipped the shit out of Valentine. And he wasn't alone. Valentine had gathered quite the collection of misfits and outcasts.
You should say collected, like he's Slughorn.
Okay.
Opposite Slughorn.
Your license has been revoked.
I'm suspended. A
Too many
DWN.
infractions.
I think it would be an RWN. Recording.
While nerding.
Oh my god. So I can't help but imagine this burgeoning circle situation as like a Freaks and Geeks style teen movie where you don't realize until the end that the coming of age story that you've been watching is actually a cautionary tale about a cult like radicalism. And by the end, the audience realizes that the heroes are actually the villains. You know what I mean? Like it just feels very weird to kind of wrap your head around the fact that they're so young and they're like creating this system, you know, this group, almost like a rebel group, or if you will. But I want a circle novella from Cassie. Like, I want to see 80s punk rock Shadowhunters, warlocks in full Miami Vice regalia, David Bowie looking vampires, and werewolves wearing like leg warmers and spandex. I mean, come on, Cassie, give us the good stuff.
That sounds amazing.
Wouldn't that be funny?
It would be very fun. And Valentine all young, like walking around, like
if they could get
really
someone
hippie
decent to play him.
Yeah.
But I'd be fine with a novella. Just like, you gave us the Bane Chronicles, at least give us a little bit of the Circle. It'd be interesting to like get to flesh out these characters' personalities before they had gone through all the shit, you know, before they had kind of grown up.
Right. Well, Jocelyn obviously fell in love with Valentine, so at some point he had to have been somewhat decent. I know she kind of, I think we talk about it, she eventually kind of just feels bad for him.
Right.
I think he wore her down.
You owe me.
Yeah.
So Valentine was certain that the Shadowhunter race was dying out, and the only way to prevent their extinction? The only way to prevent their extinction and the eventual doom of the dimension was to make more Shadowhunters using Raziel's cup, no matter the number of casualties incurred in the process, which everybody thought was insane, and still does. As we can imagine, it wasn't difficult for Valentine to sway his ragtag group of misfits to his side, and when Luke was 17, he helped Valentine form the Circle. So, I don't know about you, but this part always feels weird to me. I realize how incredibly young they all were, to realize how incredibly young they all were when this went down. I don't know, it just, like 17 and 18? I couldn't get my 17 and 18-year-old friends to organize, like, money for beer. Let alone like a whole like uprising. What?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think after reading the majority of the book so far, learning how mature, I mean, he's not, but for his age and the responsibilities he's trying to take on, Jace is pretty mature.
Yeah, the Shadowhunters
in that way
have that built into them, I suppose.
Yeah.
They act beyond their years.
I concur.
Don't hold anything back, Robin.
No, you guys just keep glitching, so it's hard for me to hear you.
Oh,
but it's fine. It's okay.
Just kidding.
Well, I was just thinking about, like you said, Cassie just turned 16. Like, imagine her doing that next
next
year. But what you said, you were gonna say what I was gonna say.
Joining a cult.
They're mature.
Yeah, don't say that.
Okay.
She has a
You
new
knock
group
on
of
wood.
friends. Yeah, knock on wood. I'm a terrible parent. Instead of teaching her to not join a cult, I'm just going to tell you to knock on wood.
Oh my god. So the death of Valentine's father during a raid on a werewolf encampment. I don't know why that
You're saying it wrong. It's personal.
Okay.
Person/wolf. I said it wrong even.
The death of Valentine's father during a raid on a person/wolf encampment galvanized his beliefs and brought out a cruelty that Luke had not seen in him before. It was during this time of grief that Jocelyn and Valentine grew close and fell in love, as you do. And they got married after school was over and moved to Jocelyn's family home in the country. Which I'm like, okay, but it's one of those things that we don't really.
I just wanted to know if they ate a lot of peaches.
Yeah, they were in the country. They had to have. I mean, God, what a stupid question.
Oh my god, you nerds.
Wait, what? Oh, how the tables have turned.
So it's interesting to see the kind of difference in Shadowhunter life versus, you know, our real world or whatever. Obviously, getting married at 18 is cause for a bit of concern for most, like straight out of high school is kind of, you know, cause for a bit of concern for most parents. However, in the Shadowhunter world, people die so young because of their job, basically, right? Like, it's just the nature of the beast. That kind of thing is totally normal. And it's just kind of one of those things that you don't think about until you read about it and you're like, No one was like, whoa, slow down. Like, you just married a cult leader. Like,
yeah. I think it's through the whole book, though. As I'm reading, I'm forgetting that they're literally just like babies.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I don't know. My mom got married when she was 17. So I guess I'm just used, like, it seemed fine to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, my parents got married when they were 18 too, but
Yeah.
I mean, they're not
I
still
was
married.
definitely not ready at that age. But Amanda got married young, though.
Not that young.
Yeah. I was 23.
Yeah.
We've been together since I was 21. But yeah, not that young. Not 18.
Have you
My
really
son
been
is
together
almost
that
20
long?
right now. Yeah.
That feels bananas.
No, I'm
to
just
me.
kidding. Yeah.
It feels like a very long time.
It is.
I know, but it's just
I mean that in all the best ways.
it's just weird in my head.
Social
I know.
distancing's taking its toll on me.
When we were in our early
It's
20s,
great.
You totally cut out when you did that too, so it sounded real weird.
It was really creepy.
But like when we were in our early 20s, Amanda, I always thought of you as so much older than me at that time.
Yeah.
Like now,
Yeah.
like I think of you as my same age, but when I was younger, for some reason, I was just always like, God, Amanda's got her shit together.
I had to. It was my, I was kind of forced into it. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 15, so it's just, I was just telling Robin today, like, I want my son, I was hoping, just talking to her about trying to get Drew to get his, get his savings and stuff going. And we're trying to coach him to, put a budget together and stuff. And it's just crazy to think he's going to be 20 in a few months. And at 23, I was married and had a house and 2 kids. And like, it's just crazy to think there's no way I want him to have that life. Like I want him to enjoy his youth. Not that I didn't, obviously. I'm so grateful for what I did and everything. But I started partying early.
See, that's the same thing with me is, a lot of people, especially because of the career path that I chose and stuff like that, people in my my business life were very shocked that like, you're 24, what? Like,
Yeah.
you act so much older. And I'm like, yeah, but I started so young. Like, I got all that crap out before I even turned 18.
Yep. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I wasn't even really that interested in going out on my 21st birthday
Yeah.
because I was over it by then.
I mean, I wanted to go out, and we did. Robin took me out that night.
Woo woo. I was with Robin for her 21st birthday.
Oh my God, you were.
I know. I saw
was.
pictures. I couldn't go. I was too young.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So what started as an after-school club turned into a full-blown movement. I'm sure they had T-shirts made. I guarantee it.
We started with film and now we're just going to turn into a cult.
Who was the teacher that was in charge of that club?
Right. Who was this faculty supervisor?
Yeah.
Someone
What does the
similar to
yearbook
Hodge,
photo
I'm
look
sure.
like?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we already saw the yearbook photo, right? It was the
Oh,
picture
that's
Hodge
right.
gave Clary.
This is true.
I'm picturing it looking like 90210.
The Idris zip code is like the Alexei zip code's below them.
Yes. It's 1.
Number 1.
Yes. 00001.
Oh my gosh. All right. So it turned into a full-blown movement, and Valentine's ideas had become even more radical and extreme since his father's death. He didn't just want to create more Shadowhunters. He wanted to eliminate all Downworlders as well. So Luke admits that he wasn't super into the whole genocide thing, but stuck with it because he didn't want to disappoint his hero and because Jocelyn had asked him to, so he could help moderate Valentine's more despicable tendencies. Newsflash, it didn't freaking work.
Surprise.
So
Shy surprise.
I have a little, I want to kind of dig into this, but I want to read a little passage from the book before we talk about it. Obviously, this is Luke talking to Clary. Despite our reluctance, we followed still. As a group, we hunted downworlders tirelessly, seeking those who had committed even the slightest infraction. Valentine never killed a creature who had not broken the accords, but he did other things. I saw him fasten silver coins to the eyes of a werewolf child, blinding her in an attempt to get the girl to tell him where her brother was. I saw him... But you don't need to hear this. No, I'm sorry. Oh, was that a little too much, Luke? Was it a little too real? Question. How would you feel about someone you love telling you this story? They were there. They saw the abuse firsthand. Do you give them the benefit of the doubt? Could you? Like, at what point?
She's a kid. I think that if I were in her position, yes, I would. Mm-hmm. Just because I think we've talked about this before. Just, as you get older, as an adult, I definitely see him differently. He kind of seems like a, I don't want to, what's the word I'm looking for? All I can think of is pansy, but that's not what I'm looking for. Like,
you're talking about Luke?
Yeah.
He's just more like calm.
Stand back and watch and let
More
him
reserved.
abuse a child. I mean, he blinded a child. That's just
right.
Crazy.
And at this point, they were children too. I mean, they were 18. I mean, I guess they're adults, but for the most part, they're teenagers. And now they're 32, right? Is that what we checked last episode?
35.
Oh, 35. Sorry.
Right?
Yeah.
We said that Hodge was 36, so Valentine would have been a little bit older, and Luke was
younger.
Hodge and Luke must be the same age then, right?
So you're in your mid-30s, and you're talking about something that you did when you were a teenager, or something you stood by and let happen. Which, I mean, as an adult, yeah, I think you have a little bit more world experience, and you can kind of see things from other points of views and kind of not necessarily forgive, but kind of understand someone's position and, why they did the things they did, whether you agree with it or not. And you can kind of not judge them solely based on who they were 20 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, to me, I don't know. I almost feel opposite. Like, I think as a young kid, I would be like, okay, I mean, I understand you didn't want to disappoint him. You're a good person now. I see that, blah, blah, blah. But as an adult, I'm like, man, I don't know how you can continue to follow someone that would do something like that. Like, I'm trying to imagine myself in that situation going, whoa, this is super, like, too far already. And just to imagine, I mean, how far into it did that happen? How much longer did he stay after he did something like that to an innocent child?
And if that's something, and then he was going to tell her something else, but then was pulling back, what else happened? Like, It wasn't like a one-time situation. It was something that they were continually doing, is these raids and this constant, he says they tirelessly track down these people. And, I mean, they're still people. You know what I mean? So, yeah,
they're
it's interesting.
Person wolves.
I agree with you personally, Amanda. Like, I don't know that I would be able to kind of get over that. But I can understand how some adults would be like, okay, well,
Yeah.
You're not the same person. You've changed. You've matured, whatever. But at the same time, I'm like, God, what at your core? Like, no matter how much you change, your core stays the same. And, like, that's something that, like, if you see that happening. So, yeah, I mean, it's a really hard question to answer. I mean, I think it has to be, I mean, it's an individual, it's a personal, situation, this moral ambiguity, you know what I mean? Where you're like, I don't know if I guess it depends on the relationship I've developed with somebody before I find out about them, about something like this. With Clary, obviously, this is basically a parent to her. So there's not really much that, I mean, are you going to write off somebody who's been in your life your entire life, has never done anything, horrible to you, has been this complete amazing role model in your life up until this point, and then they tell you something about their past, and are you just going to write them off? Right.
Well, I mean, Clary can probably, number one, she's probably not really, it's a lot to absorb. Mm-hmm. So she's probably not really focusing on the details.
Right.
But you could also compartmentalize it. Like, how do you know Luke was there when it happened? Or did he just hear a story about him doing it? And he's retelling a story like, you know what I mean?
Well, he said, I saw him fasten silver coins to the eyes of a werewolf child.
Don't highlight at me.
I didn't do it, Rob, or Amanda did.
It was Amanda. I can see it. Well, and I'm sure at that point she doesn't know what it means either. Like how, she's like, okay, yeah,
Yeah, as a kid, I definitely, and I think probably, honestly, as an adult, I would probably be like, okay, you didn't do it. I definitely think I would look at Luke differently.
Mm-hmm.
Well, personally, I think, like I said, I think she's overwhelmed. She's a lot taken in right now. And at that point, I'd probably be like, that guy sounds like an ass.
Uh-huh. Yeah. More just thinking about Valentine doing it than Luke being there.
Well, it would probably hit me later.
And there's the other layer of he's talking about her father.
Right.
Like, that's even if she doesn't know him, that's like her blood, which is such an icky feeling. You know what I mean?
Now you got bad blood.
Don't you dare Taylor Swift me right now. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I think it's an interesting kind of snapshot of human interaction and kind of like relationships, and it's an interesting lens to look at it under. I don't know. I found it interesting for the 400th time.
Did you say it was interesting?
You know the really interesting thing about that is?
Isn't it ironic?
You can't hear this, but I'm flipping Amanda off.
I'm so funny.
All right, so during his reign of...
Wait.
What?
Stop.
What?
I want to know
Collaborate.
why y'all don't get mad at Amanda for clicking in the doc. But when I do it...
Because I wasn't reading.
Listen, it's not cool. I feel some judgment and some...
Am I in it right now? I feel like I am, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, I'll go down to my part. You had to interrupt for that. I love it. Sure.
So during this reign of terror, Jocelyn gets knocked up, and shocker, she's scared of her psychotic husband and goes to Luke for help. She tells him that Valentine is acting weird, disappearing into the cellar at night, and that she's even hearing screams coming through the walls. But instead of, I don't know, getting her the fuck out of the situation, Luke decides to talk it out with Valentine like a damn moron. And this is kind of one of those things that just drives me nuts, because like you put this in our world, right? You know, your friend comes to you, she's pregnant. She's like, I think there's something wrong with my husband. I'm scared of him. He's acting erratically, whatever. And you're going to be like, don't worry. I'm going to tell him everything that you just told me and have him explain it. Like, what?
Yep.
That is not a good friend move. That is a bad friend move.
I know you're going to say it in the next little part, but I guess maybe in Luke's mind, it's his parabatai. He maybe feels like he can knock some sense into him. You're acting like a freaking lunatic. You need to chill. Your wife is scared. But I mean, you've admitted, and I'm assuming he saw this coins fastening thing in the eyes before that this happened. You know, it's probably not going to knock any sense into him. Right.
Like, you should know better. But again, he's kind of brainwashed, right?
Definitely.
Like, he's under this guy's influence because he totally hero worships him. So,
you think they'd be hanging out more if they're parabatai. Like, he would know something was up.
Well, she said
himself.
She said he goes to the cellar at night, and he's very secretive about it. So, I mean,
what would the screams be? Do you think that he's bringing Downworlders down there?
We don't know.
I was gonna say manipulate, but that is
Kristen and I know,
right?
But you don't know.
Oh, okay.
So we can't
okay.
comment.
Yeah.
You can tell us what you think.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
He's
guess
actually just it's leg day, and
Right.
he's like, these are so heavy.
He's getting swole.
he was just watching birthing videos to get ready for Clary's birth.
Oh my
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
So, of course, Valentine has all the pretty words and excuses and invites Luke, his parabatai, on a hunt that night. And Luke gets bitten by a werewolf. How fucking convenient. So, he wakes back up at Valentine and Jocelyn's house, bandaged up and terrified. The only way to know if Luke contracted lycanthropy, that's the word, lycanthropy, through the bite is to wait and see if he turns with the full moon. And 3 weeks later, he gets his answer.
I just think that's so funny. You have to wait for a full moon.
I mean, could you imagine how terrifying that would be?
It just reminds me of like someone getting their period. It's your moon cycle.
You have that real bad Tinder date, and you're like, oh crap, that was a bad idea, and then you have to wait 3 weeks to find out if you're in the clear. No,
There's no
cut that
Not
out.
no
guilty.
blood test.
There's no what?
There's no blood test to check, no DNA, no swab.
Right.
No.
You can't just go to the lab, the Shadowhunter lab, and see.
Laboratory.
Laboratory. Well, I mean, we get the sense, obviously, later on.
Wait.
What?
Wait.
Oh my god.
Amanda actually called Kaiser and asked for the laboratory instead of the lab.
But I said laboratory.
I was trying to get a hold of the laboratory.
I was pregnant, and I had all kinds of shit going on. So I had to get my blood taken all the time, and I wanted to know what time they opened or something. So I was calling to find out about the lab. And for some reason, I was on their website because I had Googled the phone number, and it said laboratory on it. So I read that to the person that answered the phone.
Did you?
I was like, I'm calling.
Did you ask for Dexter?
What the hours are of the laboratory? I just started laughing as soon as it came out of my mouth. And the person on the phone at Kaiser started laughing really hard too.
Igor. The laboratory master.
Dear God.
I like Dexter, though. That was good. Or would she be Dexter or would she be Dee Dee? You're Dee Dee.
I don't know that show well enough.
But she was
to say.
asking for Dexter when she called the laboratory.
Oh man, that was a good one.
Oh my gosh. So here's the last little bit from the chapter. The first change is always the hardest. I remember a bewilderment of agony, a blackness, and waking up hours later in a meadow miles from the city. I was covered in blood, the torn body of some small woodland animal at my feet. Okay.
Ugh.
But like how terrifying. Not only have you just went through 3 weeks of just pure terror, just worried. Really?
That was good. I like that it was really in the background.
Chia. Anyways.
I was Bowieing you.
Huh?
Anyway.
You were what?
Nothing. I like you. You got a cute face. Continue.
I don't trust that.
Bowie's in space. I said
Aaron?
I Bowied you.
Oh.
And then Bowie's in Space is a Flight of the Conchords song, because why not keep it in the theme?
Right, of course.
Mwahaha. Okay, really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I think when he was talking about the animal at his feet, he also mentioned that he still had like the taste of raw meat in his mouth, and that is just what got me.
Made your stomach turn
Like,
a bit?
Ew.
Like
L. Yeah. Yep.
Oh my god, I turned into a werewolf last night. Person/wolf, like L.
L.
And his clothes are ruined
really
now.
good, Kristen.
Huh?
That was a very good ew. It sounded just like Jimmy Fallon.
I do my best.
Oh, I love Jimmy Fallon. Awesome. Okay, well, after this little trip down the meadow, Luke returned to the manor. Yes.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Luke returned to the manor. Jocelyn and Valentine are waiting at the door. Like, he's 16 years old, out past curfew, and they're his parents. Just, like, twiddling their fingers in the dark, waiting to turn the lamp on. So Jocelyn, I'm assuming they just see him covered in blood, and she just wants to go console him, it seems like. And Valentine pulls her back and doesn't allow her to go near him, basically. Controlling much. And he
Valentine
grabs
is very
Luke.
problematic, in case anyone hasn't picked up on it.
Yeah. Yeah, he Valentine grabbed Luke and dragged him into the woods, telling him to do the honorable thing and take his own life. I feel like he just would have this super creepy, dark voice. Mm-hmm. Does he in the stuff?
Watch him be like an octave like mine.
They haven't been able to find a good Valentine, so we don't know.
Okay. Do the honorable thing.
He sounds like
Yeah,
Mickey
exactly.
Mouse.
Yeah, he has my octave.
He's like, he has his customer service voice on. Oh, man. Okay. So in doing his, the honorable thing, Valentine gives him his father's dagger, gives Luke his father's dagger, and then just like ghosts. He goes in the house.
Kisses it. He's
Yeah.
like, what's up, boo?
Okay, but just for a second, can we reflect on the fact that as a testament to how well Valentine has these people trained, he thinks he can just be like, you need to kill yourself and walk away, and he'll do it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that.
It's just,
How creepy.
right? Like, could you
Is his last
imagine
name
somebody having that
Manson?
kind of power over you?
Yeah, Manson. That's true. That's IRL.
Mm-hmm. Hashtag cult.
Creepy.
You don't like hashtag cult life?
Living
Oh,
my cult life.
I wonder if there is a hashtag that. We should Google it.
It probably.
So how you use a hashtag? Do you Google them?
You can search a hashtag.
Okay.
Yeah, on Instagram. Duh.
God, I feel so much younger doing this.
What?
I'm just learning so much.
Robin's the one that taught me about hashtags. I didn't know about them.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Are you looking it up?
No, I was looking at something else.
Okay, fine. I'll go on. All right. So after Valentine goes into the house, Luke obviously needs time to think. So he just ran like Forrest. I just felt like running.
I
Sounded more like a robot.
I like how you put.
I had to remember I needed to say it in his voice.
I did that in Snape's. I did Snape's voice when I did obviously once before.
I just felt like running. I can't do a very good job though. I feel like Robin would try it.
What does Forrest Gump sound like? Life is like a box of chocolates. I just felt like running.
No, that
I
was
just
stupid.
felt like running. He
Yeah,
does
that
hard
was better
G's.
than G. Yep, you
Yeah.
need to enunciate the G. Good job.
My uncle can do like a killer Gump impression.
That's great.
Every movie about Tom Hanks is just about Tom Hanks.
I mean, he's pretty cool. I like Tom Hanks a lot, but that's not a wrong statement.
The Polar Express, he plays like every character. Castaway, the show's just about him.
That weird Terminal movie, which apparently was a true story.
Yep.
Creepy. Living in an airport for like 18 years or something.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay. Whatever. Anyway. He could be listening. I don't want to offend the guy.
We love Tom.
He's going to write you a very strongly worded
He's a
letter.
fucking
Tom
national
Hanks, the
treasure.
real guy.
No one can say anything bad about him.
No, the real terminal guy.
Yeah. You thought she was talking about Tom Hanks?
Oh.
No, I knew what she meant.
Oh.
She's talking about the terminal guy that lived in the airport. No offense, but you lived in an airport.
Soup's weird.
I had this discussion with Audrey. You can't say something inherently meanly bitchy and just say no offense and have it not be offensive. You smell really bad. No offense. No, that is offensive. Any way you slice it.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, it's like adding an LOL at the end of a text message. It doesn't quite work.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. All right.
Call
well,
me frickin' Craig
while Luke was
Feldspar.
running, he made his way to the person/wolf camp to confront the wolf that had bitten him. I'm sorry, I won't continue to do it. So he wanted to confront the wolf that had bitten him. Had bitten him. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. He was pointed to the leader, and they threw down, fighting through the night.
In my head, when you said they threw down, it's like a West Side Story situation. When they like get their switchblades out, they're like,
Oh, I
"It's
thought yours
going
meant like
down."
they were.
Yep. Well, they go back and forth between man and wolf. And to me, I don't really understand that, because I guess I get why Luke would go back and forth, because he maybe is like glitching sort of thing, like going in and out. But the other dude he's the leader, right?
Right.
So, by the way, I don't quite understand that.
Shut up.
I've been waiting a week for that.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, did they explain that at all at any point in any other thing? Why they would go back and forth? Okay.
But it makes
I guess
sense. You're right. How if Luke was, he's new, he can't really control changing and what have you. I don't know. I think it would just for dramatic flair.
Yeah.
They got to put
Sure.
on a good show.
And I wonder if at one point, like, one of them was a dude and one of them was a wolf, and then like,
Well, you feel like whoever was the wolf would win.
Right.
exactly. So they had to switch at the same time.
Maybe he's like, pick up your sword. Like they want it to be a fair fight.
A fair fight, yeah. Maybe that's the only way he could win or something, is if it was a fair fight. I don't know.
I
I'm
don't think
assuming the leader of the pack would know the rules. So they fought until the sun rose, and eventually Luke was victorious and stabbed the wolf in the neck with Valentine's dagger. And this made Luke the man, because the wolves have a law: whoever kills the clan leader takes his place.
The who?
The man wolf.
No, the person wolves or just the wolves?
Yeah. This makes Luke the person wolf. He is now their leader.
Oh my gosh.
So eventually, he puts his Shadowhunter life behind him, and Luke embraced this new way of life. Eventually, Jocelyn was able to find him, and she came to warn him with new baby boy Jonathan Christopher in tow. She came to warn him that there are rumors of a once Shadowhunter / person wolf going around.
A triple threat, if you will.
Yes, exactly.
A triple threat?
Yeah, a shadow hunter, a person, and a wolf.
Oh, okay. Because Shadowhunter and person are not the same thing.
No.
Yeah.
Trifecta.
Yeah.
So she came to warn him because she was afraid that Valentine would hear the same rumors and try to come find him as well. And her fears were validated when Valentine did come looking for Luke. But luckily, he turned into a freaking ninja and was able to hide and went unnoticed when Valentine came by.
I really want that explained, because it's like, how wolves do.
Yeah.
No, medicine man, we don't know how wolves do. Please tell me.
Right? Like, did he,
Medicine.
run? Because wolves can run really fast. Like, did he just, disappear into the forest? Or did he just hide? I don't...
He hid in the bushes like Bigfoot.
Well, he's black, right? His black fur.
I thought it was...
Oh, is he?
Oh, I don't know. There's a gray streak in it, right? I might be getting this confused with Twilight. I don't know.
With Jacob.
No, Jacob was russet colored.
That's what I'm imagining Luke as. Like a potato? I would call him like Brindle.
In Twilight, she calls it russet. Like it's like a
russet potato.
Like burnt Sierra. I don't know. Burnt umber. That's the one I was looking for.
Hold on, I'll tell you. Oh, crap.
But I mean, like, how badass
All
is
right, here we
Luke
go.
to, like, his second day as a werewolf, he, like, bests the leader of this pack?
It must have something to do with that Shadowhunter training, right? I mean,
he was a bad Shadowhunter.
That's a good point.
He was a battle
He
hunter.
found his calling.
It says something hurled in front of her, something big, gray, black, and alive.
There we go.
Okay.
So maybe he was hiding in the night.
Yes.
In the middle of the night. Sorry.
Well, eventually Jocelyn and Luke began secretly meeting each other. The Accords were going to be off of the normal schedule due to scheduling conflicts. And Valentine was so pissed about the Clave giving scheduling leeway to Downworlders that he and the Circle worked with demons because they're super hypocritical and stole the Mortal Cup.
Dun, dun. And they put a facsimile in its place.
Right. Is that what yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Okay, that was my next thing. So apparently it went unnoticed for months. And I was going to ask, do you think they put like a 3D printed version in its place, or like the inflatable pyramid from Despicable Me?
Ridiculous.
Yes, the inflatable pyramid. Can you imagine?
You're like, wait a minute.
Someone 3D printing the Mortal Cup?
Yeah.
Because people that own 3D printers are really excited that they own 3D printers. Because it's pretty BA.
It is kind of.
But yeah.
I would never be able to work it.
No, me either. Come on.
I would make all kinds of cool shit.
What would you make?
I
Invisalign.
don't know. All I can think of is like a pipe, and I don't even smoke.
Okay, so I don't have any experience with 3D printers, but like when they first like came on the market or whatever, I had watched like an ad for one of them or whatever. And to me, I was like, it looks like just like a hot glue gun. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Just like a mechanical hot glue gun that just kind of like I'm like, I did that when I was a kid. It's definitely not the same thing at all, but in my head.
That's great. Well, Jocelyn knew Valentine had plans to attack unsuspecting, unarmed Downworlders at the Accords, so she and Luke worked together, spreading the word to Downworlders and warned them. Before the Accords could be signed, Valentine and the Circle stood, unveiling their weapons. Jocelyn ran to the doors, and all kinds of Downworlders flooded the hall. Jocelyn had marked the Circle members with a warlock spell. However, some uninvolved Shadowhunters were sadly harmed as well. I think that is so cool. Do you think it was like a video game?
Right, like a Sims,
like an arrow pointing
them.
at them. Yeah. Neato. It's interesting that the spell would do like only certain people would be able to see it, because obviously Downworlders would need to see it, but not Shadowhunters, I guess.
I think everybody could see it, personally.
So Luke fought through the crowd, making his way to Valentine. When he got to him, he reached his maker, is what I was going to say, but that is not correct. Anyway, when Luke got to Valentine, Valentine smiled. They exchanged some words back and forth, like, say my name, bitch, chat, back and forth. He was like, speak my name or something. It's just creepy, weird back and forth. And Valentine says, once I had a friend, a man of honor, who would have died before he let his blood be polluted. Now a nameless monster with his face stands before me. He raised his blade. I should have killed you while I had the chance. He cried and lunged for me. Okay, so once again, the wolf person has Luke's face. I told you.
Okay, the only thing that I can imagine is the meme Kristen made.
Exactly.
For Instagram.
Yep.
Like, especially because it's in this dance pose.
Well, and he's got to be in wolf person. What am I trying to say? Status is all I can think of.
I think
Format.
Okay, hold on.
He's not Luke right now, right? He's a werewolf.
No, he's Luke.
He's Luke.
He's calling him a monster because he's still a werewolf, regardless if he's in person form or not.
Well, yeah.
But he's basically saying,
yeah.
you've changed. You're not the person you were. You're not my parabatai.
I just assume he's going to go in and attack, and he's going to be like,
Mad Dog.
yeah, because he's
2020?
He's more vulnerable as Luke.
I think he would turn. Well, can he talk and like do wolves when they're in wolf form speak English?
Well, they can partially.
He's like, "Bar, bar, 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 bar,
He's barking.
bar,
Woof.
bar."
Ooh. I guess, yeah. That makes more sense.
And Valentine's like, "Fuck you, bro." Hey, fuck you, dude.
Oh my god. Okay.
Great.
Wow. I love.
Yeah, I guess my
Amanda's
part was kinda short.
imagination though, because some of the stuff that you say.
This is why she didn't get into reading.
Like that's a
This is
different
why I have
way
to see
look at
TV.
it.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Okay, so Luke and Vitine begin to fight up and down the dais. Somehow, during all the chaos, Luke was able to see the Lightwoods drop their weapons. This is, as I want to note, after the fighting starts. Looks like we finally know when they decided to jump ship.
Mm-hmm.
And Hodge was already gone, having fled at the outset. Obviously, our theory on why Hodge got a worse punishment is out.
Yeah.
Discuss. Which, obviously, it's revealed later in the chapter why. So I don't know how much you want to get into it, but...
Yeah. Keep going.
I could totally see, like, why Hodge is salty, dude.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Oh,
Anyway.
show.
Yeah, thank you for agreeing with me. Okay. Jocelyn tries to break up the fight, reminding Valentine, this is Luke. He was almost your brother. Which has the opposite effect. And Valentine grabs her, puts a dagger to her throat, threatening her. And just crazy, because you think... Anyway. This stops Luke in his tracks. He knows that Valentine would do it for real. And Valentine knows that Luke and Jocelyn have been in cahoots. And he tells them that they will regret what they have done all the rest of their lives.
No.
Say it in your Valentine
They
voice,
give no
Amanda.
shits.
What, Robin?
You will regret what you have done for the rest of your lives. I don't know.
Thank you.
I
That was
don't think
good.
that was deep enough.
So Valentine seizes the silver locket from around Jocelyn's throat and throws it at Luke. And I imagine him going, think fast!
Oh god. That's so fucked up.
The silver from the locket hurts Luke so much he screams in pain and stumbles back. Crazy how something so small could wield so much damage and really puts the silver on the eyelids thing into perspective.
Yeah.
It's like a tiny chain. I'm assuming that she's not like G'd out like Flavor Flav.
Flavor Flav.
Yeah. I don't think it's a giant locket.
He's got a rope chain burn across his face.
Well, you know what time it is? It's time to get your ass kicked.
His pack starts calling him Mr. T.
Valentine takes the opportunity to kidnap Jocelyn and then ghost into the crowd. Luke leaves the Accords Hall and takes in the scene in front of him. The hall is on fire, burning, a light in the sky. People are fleeing into the night. It's absolute chaos. And somehow, between A to B, he finds Jocelyn alone by the riverbank. And he goes to her, obviously. And they leave on horseback and in wolf form, rushing to get back to Jocelyn's manor house, terrified for Jonathan's safety. I was going to say who's watching him, but I know.
Okay. As a parent, if you're going to go against your husband and thwart his
evil plan.
Right. Of this massive uprising that could have severe ramifications. You're not just gonna leave your fucking kid at home where he can find them. Like, fucking hashtag Team Mom mistake.
I mean, she must have just assumed that Luke would be able to kill him.
I don't know.
I guess.
No, I wouldn't put that much faith in anybody. There's got to be somewhere they can hide or something.
Right. Like, you'd want to, like, set up plans to make sure that things were... whatever.
Yeah. I also... this is kind of going back a little bit, and I guess it's because of what happens later. But I am surprised that they live with Jocelyn's family and not Valentine's family. Mm-hmm. Or at least in his family's house. Mm-hmm. Just because he's so controlling. I don't think I would want my in-laws there.
Right.
I think it's weird that this didn't teach her a lesson about preparing for Clary.
Of course it didn't. Jocelyn is one of my least favorite characters, honestly. I'm sorry. I'm sure that there's Jocelyn stans out there, but I'm not one of them.
Nah.
You don't know her very well. You don't know her like I do. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
As they draw near the house, Luke can tell that something is out of whack. The air is hanging heavy with fire and the stench of demonic witchcraft. Luke turns back into the portion of wolf person, making his way up to where the house was because that baby is burned to the ground.
Poor choice of words.
Yeah, I know. I wrote it as I was reading the chapter. Okay, I'm gonna take it out.
Oh no, that's staying in.
No.
Yes, it is.
No.
Can't. Followed up by the
I
poor
was gonna
choice
say
of words.
it's burned
Absolutely.
baby, burned disco inferno is what I was gonna say. But I was in such a hurry; it was too much to type.
Oh my gosh!
So you shall get it now. Okay. Only the foundation and a smattering of random pieces of the house are left. Luke suspects that Valentine used demon fire to utterly decimate the home because it's the only thing that would burn hot enough to do that. And Jocelyn is on her knees in the ashes. And now I feel bad for my burn baby, burn disco inferno joke because I'm going to read from the chappy chap. Jocelyn's kneeling on what had perhaps once been the front doorsteps. They were blackened by fire, and there were bones, charred to blackness, but recognizably human, with scraps of cloth here and there, and bits of jewelry the fire had not taken. Red and gold threads still clung to the bones of Jocelyn's mother, and the heat had melted her father's dagger to his skeletal hand. Among another pile of bones gleamed Valentine's silver amulet, with the insignia of the circle still burning white-hot upon its face, and among the remains scattered as if they were too fragile to hold together were the bones of a child. "You will regret what you have done," Valentine had said. And as I knelt with Jocelyn on the burned paving stones, I knew that he was right. I did regret it, and have regretted it every day since. That is a heavy load to bear.
Yeah.
But it's also not his.
Louise.
I know, but dang, dude.
I don't know how you wouldn't take it as yours.
I wonder how Clary's feeling now. Like, obviously she wanted to know, and I don't think that takes away from anything. But hopefully she has kind of that compassion that Magnus was telling her about.
Mm-hmm.
I would really think so.
Yeah.
You know, realizing why she did what she did.
Yeah.
And,
but I mean, this has also got to feel so, like, she has to feel so detached from this. Like, yes, it's a lot of information. Yes, it's about her family. And yes, I'm sure she has a lot of emotions about it. But there's got to be part of her that's like, this isn't, like, real. Like, it's not real to her. Right? Because it's so foreign.
It's a story.
Yeah. It's such a weird thing. It's going to take some time to, like, wrap her head around.
Just to process, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Luke and Jocelyn leave, and they flee to Paris. Jocelyn is refusing to seek help from the Parisian Institute because she's done with the Shadow World. She tells Luke that she is pregnant, weeks along.
It's the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have to interrupt right now. I have to interrupt. So she's weeks along, right?
Yeah.
Her husband's been acting like a fucking psycho for how long? And she's still getting down with him?
Do you think she has a choice?
I was going to say that, yeah. Is it by choice?
I guess we haven't gotten. I guess this book is not that dark, so we did not get into it. But still,
I don't think it's by choice.
Interesting.
Yeah. Poor thing.
Yes, exactly. She's determined to make a new life for her child without any whisper of clave or covenant. She sells the amulet that she'd taken from the fire and bought an airplane ticket. And she refused to tell Luke where she was headed. But the further away, the better. Luke was a part of her old life, and she didn't want to bring him with her. He knew that if it wasn't for her baby, she would have taken her own life, so Luke agrees to help her, even though it means losing her forever. The last words he heard from her was, "Valentine is not dead." Luke returned to his pack, but a feeling of emptiness consumed him. He was an absent leader, taking no joy in the hunt and having no friends or spouse. He says that he was too much human, too much Shadowhunter, not enough wolf in his trifecta.
Yeah.
Luke returns to the Accord Hall to sign the Accords, and there he finds the Lightwoods. They tell him the only remaining Circle members are Hodge, which we know what's up with him, and Michael Wayland, who's so stricken with grief over the loss of his wife that he has squirreled himself away at his country estate with his son. And they tell him that they are leaving for New York to run the Institute on Exile. Luke says the Lightwoods get off on a lighter sentence because of their connections to the highest families in the Clave. And I still smell something off here. Like I don't like it. I think it's a weird reason.
Right.
I just don't see, obviously,
It reeks
there's
of
nepotism
corruption.
everywhere. But in the Clave, like, the law is hard, but it's the law. Like, do you really think?
But, I mean, this is the first... I don't know how much I want to say. This is the first taste of the reality of their government. And yes, the law is the law, whatever. The law is hard, but it is the law. But also, most governments are... at least have corruption, It's not like it's a surprise that just because they're shadow hunters, they're more noble than other humans. They're still human.
They sure the hell act like they are. At least Jace does.
He does.
Right.
But we've also seen Jace, use the letter of the law or the power of the clave to leverage against other people and downworlders and stuff. So we see that firsthand from just someone who's not, he's a child, but he uses the fact that he's a shadow hunter as leverage. You can imagine what the adults do. I mean, there's got to be
a good point.
This arrogance that these shadow hunters that we've met have. It's got to, other people have to be like that too, This learned behavior.
Faux shizzle.
That was impressive. I was going to say tangent, and then I was going to say podium, like a speech.
Insight?
Your monologue?
Yeah, there you
Your
go.
explanation?
My monologue, I like it.
Your thoughts on love?
After signing the Accords, Luke knew that he had to find Jocelyn. He left his pack, traveled at night. Paris, London, Boston, the White Mountains, wherever the fuck that is. I don't know. Do you know where the White Mountains are?
Mm-mm.
Anybody? I wanted to Google it, but I didn't have time.
They sound snowy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Luke turned his thoughts to New York and the exiled Shadowhunters. So he decides to search there. He arrives in New York, sends messages through the Downworld. I wrote Downworlder. Sends messages through the Downworld, searching without any luck or signs for Jocelyn. And he says that he found her by accident, seeing a painting hanging in a gallery window. He recognized it immediately as a view from the window of her family's manor house. The same evening, he found her, knocked on her door, and a little girl with dark red braids answered the door, Jocelyn behind her with paint-stained hands. And he ends with, "The rest you know."
Okay. I find it oddly convenient that all the surviving members of the Circle have coalesced in New York. Right?
Yes.
Like, without any, Jocelyn doesn't talk to the Lightwoods. The Lightwoods don't know Jocelyn's in New York. I mean, New York's a big city. I get it. But also, she knows she would have known through Dorothea, who runs the New York Institute. So why on earth would she stay?
Well, at this point, when Luke meets her, she's not living at the same place as she is when we meet her later in the book.
Does it say that?
Because it says that she's, it says, I found her living in a 5th floor walk-up in the Artist Haven in the East Village.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So she hadn't met Madame Dorothea yet.
But I mean...
We can assume.
Yeah.
I wonder if, I don't know. And the only experience I have is movies, by the way, not talking to anybody that I know personally. But I wonder if New York is one of those places where, because it's like a big destination. Like for me, like I'd love to go see Paris, and everybody talks about, you know, I know a lot of people that would like to go to Paris. It's a destination city. So I wonder if people in Idris or Alicante had wished to go to New York. Because it's one of those things where it's very opposite of what they grew up with. You know, because it's this big urban blah, blah, blah. And obviously they're countryside and one city, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to stop saying blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to just spitball here. But what if, and this is just random thought. There's no basis for it. But what if she did it intentionally, knowing that if she were to get in trouble, she had a connection to the Lightwoods and could probably convince them, or had something on, like had an in. She knew them, so she knew how they operated, and if something were to happen, she could probably get out of it. Whereas in another city with Shadowhunters she doesn't have a personal connection with, that might have been harder. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know, just a thought.
I wonder if it was also
Enemy,
for,
you know.
Magnus?
Yeah. Yeah.
Specifically, because if he was the High Warlock of Brooklyn, nobody else could do what he did.
Right.
And obviously she couldn't move away from him.
And she knew
he
him
has to come.
before, so
Yeah.
Okay.
that would definitely make sense.
Which obviously Luke didn't know that. I wouldn't think. It's just very... They had to have met somewhere. The story makes sense. It's put in a nice little bow, but it is very like, okay,
Right.
Like they're going to run into each other at the grocery store.
right.
Hey, this is your corner market too?
This is your bodega.
Okay.
know
Yeah.
how... I want to see one of Jocelyn's paintings because he's saying like he recognized her brush strokes and stuff, and obviously Clary did too with the cup and stuff.
The cards.
She does have a
I wanna
very
know.
distinctive style.
Yeah, my stick figures look just like mine. My kids could see them from anywhere.
You can tell it's an Amanda Lane original.
Yes. Because it has a little curly Q on top.
I don't know. I would really like to hear from Jocelyn, like to get a real, like, detailed explanation from Jocelyn about what this time in her life was and like why she made the decision she made. I think that would be really interesting.
Well, if you had that novella, you could get it from her POV.
A legit question.
Tell me.
And it might just be because I only reread my section of this chapter this time. I did read it, but this, you know. Why do all the Shadowhunters sign the Accords? Like, why did Luke have to go back to sign them?
Because he's the pack leader.
Yeah, he's the werewolf
leader of the
representative.
pack.
Oh, duh. Because he's the leader of the person wolves. Okay,
I mean,
got
he's
it.
not the leader of every person wolf, but he's the leader of the person wolves that live in Idris.
Yeah, he's the representative.
So, hold on. Downworlders live there. I didn't think about that
In
when I
Idris,
was
yes.
reading this.
But not in Alicante.
Okay. Interesting.
As the books progress, they go into it a lot. So it'll clarify and stuff.
Awesome.
All in all, this was a really interesting chapter. And I remember the first time I read it, I was very confused because I'm like, this is weird. Like, this whole chapter is just a story. Like, it's just him talking for an entire chapter. But I don't know.
We needed it.
We did need it. I kind of wish we would have gotten more of Clary's reaction.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see how she reacted. But I think that Robin's right. It's a lot to take in, and her reactions might not have been
I mean, she has a brain injury. So.
Several.
She's concussed.
Yeah. Jeez Louise, this poor kid.
Cheese Louis.
Do you
Okay.
think that Luke is relieved to have found her? And, like, do you think she's kind of relieved? I think we did already talk about that a little bit, but...
Well, he's
don't
been
know.
tailing her and having his pack tail her.
Oh, that's right.
But I
That's
think
so
right.
he's been keeping tabs, but I think he's happy to make contact. And this, obviously, we see at the very, very beginning of the book, it's something he's struggled with, her not knowing.
Yeah.
Because he's like begging Jocelyn just to date Junior.
Right.
So I bet he feels relieved that, you know, it's finally
The
off his
secret's
chest. I'm sure
out.
it's a big burden that he's carried around with him. And hopefully, I don't know. Obviously, we'll figure out what happens in the next chapter,
We shall see.
Yeah.
which is called Renwick's Ruin. BT dubs.
BT dubs. Yeah, I think as a parent, you know, just being able to, because I mean, he is her parent. Like, however we want to slice it, whatever.
Yep.
Uncle
Yep.
Luke, whatever. He's her parent.
Yeah.
So, you know, he had to push her away to protect her. So, you know, because he knew that Valentine was going to be watching him and all of that. But I think now, him having this opportunity to tell her what's going on, and now he feels like, you know, okay, I can make sure she's safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he had to trap her in a jail cell to do it, but yeah.
And I mean, we'll see how long it lasts, but
We'll have to, you have to think, like through Luke's eyes probably, there's a possibility that Valentine doesn't even know about Clary being his.
right.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. He knows that there's a girl, but he doesn't necessarily know if it's his. I mean, I'm sure he can do the math.
well, in Luke's eyes anyway.
Yeah.
Who knows what we find out later, but if you're in Luke's POV,
Right.
he couldn't tell that Jocelyn was pregnant. Maybe, you know, or maybe
Maybe it's Luke's baby. Vitane don't know.
And I think that is his initial assumption. I think that's going to be Valentine's initial assumption about her when he heard about the girl is, oh, you know, they must, because I think he kind of like in his head, he's like, they're totally going to hook up.
I'm sure as a spouse, you would have to have that
Like literally
in the back of your
everybody
mind.
else thinks the same thing.
Yeah. Like they had to have just one time, right?
One time at band camp.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. All right. Is there anything else? No?
I don't think so. This was good.
Make sure that you read chapter 22, Renwick's Ruin, for next week's episode.
For behind the scenes content and the latest updates, check us out on Instagram at Downworlder Dish Podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye.
I think you should have said Instagram.
Okay. Are we stopping?